Welcome to On the Chain.
And without further ado, let's bring in Eleanor Terrett. Eleanor, welcome to On the Chain.
Hello. Thank you so much for having me, guys. To start off with, I think just the sheer amount of, what we call interesting coincidences throughout this story and, leading up to the lawsuit itself, and Charlie and I have said this the whole time, just because there are, coincidences doesn't mean there's, something fishy going on. Like, we're not saying that, there's collusion or there's, corruption. But there's definitely, points in the story, where we sat there, we were doing this research and we said, that seems strange. You would think that this person, would maybe know better to have done this or to have said that. So just those coincidences that we outlined in the piece. And I think the biggest surprise for me was the Grunfest letter, at the end of the day. Fox Business got a copy of that letter. We were able to see it firsthand. And obviously, for those who don't know, Grunfest was a former commissioner at the SEC, and he wrote to Jay Clayton before he filed the lawsuit, actually, and he advised the entire 5-person commission to basically not go ahead with the lawsuit. He said it would make the SEC look bad and lose credibility, essentially. He said that XRP and Ether are not fundamentally different, and they should be treated similarly where regulation is concerned. So, I think a former SEC commissioner, someone who I would imagine is highly respected in that circle, in that community, wrote this letter and it made no difference whatsoever. Ripple is still selling XRP and it's sold close to $1 billion, since the lawsuit. So if the SEC really believes that XRP is an unregistered security, why are they allowing the sales of the token at all? So I thought that was interesting too.
In the article, it stated the following. So I'll pull this one statement out. It said, if the SEC is indeed picking winners and losers based on connections rather than merit, as Ripple executives believe, it would certainly tarnish the case of the SEC regulation going forward. And you mentioned, of course, the Grunfest letter. How do you think the SEC is viewed by most investors today?
That's a great question. And I think it kind of depends on who you talk to. I'm relatively new to this space, like I just mentioned. In the last year, from talking to crypto investors, both retail and institutional, they're really against the SEC, people in this space specifically, for the reasons that you and I know, the severe lack of clarity, Chairman Gensler's, severe determination to crack down on what he's calling, the Wild West of investing. And these investors in digital assets, they really don't like his methods. They don't like the regulation by enforcement. For them, they have a lot to lose, because if they're regulating by enforcing, there's going to be no innovation in the space. People are going to get nervous that they're going to get dinged. It's going to slow the whole process down. But if you talk to people who invest in, stocks, if you invest in Apple or Amazon or Walmart, you think of the SEC as kind of like, just there. Like there's not really too many issues. You comply with securities laws, and those companies tend to comply with those laws. So those investors SEC is not really on their radar, and I think it's not entirely the SEC's fault either. I think, Charlie and I have said this a lot in our reporting and outside as well. There's not really any rules of the road when it comes to regulation in this space. There's no previously stated laws. There's nothing to go on. We use this example 100 times. Charlie has, especially the days of the internet. When that came about, there was no enforcement. There was very little enforcement, and people back in the day just let it grow, and they let it grow and grow to what it is today, and it's become this amazing tool that we all use. And I think crypto has that potential as well, but the SEC right now is just kind of they're blocking that, and I think it's a combination of just not really knowing much about the space. I know it's very new. I'm learning. We're all learning. There's so much to know, and it's so intricate, like the blockchain and DeFi and all that stuff. It's just it's mind-blowing, most of it. And I think there just needs to be more, obviously, clarity, but also when the SEC makes these rules going forward or whatever they're going to choose to do, I think they need to collaborate with people who are experts in the industry, people who work with this stuff every single day and see it forming, build it out, and they know its potential. And there's room for bad actors. There's room for bad actors everywhere. But I think for the most part, these people are, generally trying to move forward a product that I think is going to be very beneficial to investors, to the whole world down the road. So I think it depends on who you talk to answer your question. But especially in this space, the SEC is just they're the bad guys.
Yeah, what are your thoughts? Your direct thoughts from all of your research? Why is the SEC acting this way?
It's funny you say that because maybe an SEC's argument would be they don't know the technology and they don't know what they're getting themselves into. But from people I've talked to and people on Twitter who these XRP people who just were passive investors, right? Like they got into it because they were like, oh, this is a good investment. Like there's no malicious intent there. Like they're not like, I feel like the SEC's view is that everybody is a criminal with criminal intent and should be treated so. And that's obviously wrong. And most of these people know more about crypto and the digital space than SEC regulators do. I mean, they're sitting there writing, rules about ESG investing when, other people who are really investing in this stuff are taking their time and doing their homework. So, I think it's unfair for the SEC to take that view, especially, for today's retail investors. But I think it's interesting also that, Jay Clayton himself, he was head of the SEC at such a pivotal time for the digital currency, progression of it. And I think, and now he's so heavily invested too in, not invested, I'm not sure, but he's an advisor to, several crypto outlets. He is on the board of Apollo, who has crypto investments. And his attitude as chair of the SEC, obviously it's different than what he's saying now. And obviously people can have a change of heart, a change of opinion. But I think he could have done a better job holding that office and making sure the SEC really did kind of just, write rules of the road, or at least try. And I know he attempted to when he went to Andreessen Horowitz and said, I need some help. But like, that nothing really came of that. All that came of that was them saying, Ripple or XRP is a security. Ethereum is not. Bitcoin is not. It doesn't really help anybody, because Ethereum and Bitcoin, like Bitcoin especially is the oldest cryptocurrency. It's decentralized. It's kind of the linchpin for all the other cryptocurrencies. When Bitcoin moves, everything else moves. So it didn't really do much, and I think he could have done a better job at really helping investors. That could have, been what made him, a great SEC chair. It could have made his name. Like Jay Clayton, he really forged the path for cryptocurrency and its progression. So, and I think Gary Gensler is kind of going that same route. It's kind of the old, they fill the stereotypical role of what an SEC, head of an SEC or an SEC commissioner kind of like looks like, right? Like you think of these guys who are sitting in government saying no, 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 when people are trying to say yes, yes, yes. Mm-hmm. And they're just not working with people, or it doesn't seem like they are. So, and Gary Gensler is, like I said earlier, he's trying to crack down in every way he can. And I think they need to give investors and they need to give the space the benefit of the doubt when it comes to, innovation, because, we're going to be left, there's going to be nothing here in the US, when overseas. And right. I was listening to your interview with Tom Emmer, and, he made the reference to, someone he was talking to, an investor who invested or came up with a project, and he set up this project in the British Virgin Islands. I think I'm not sure if he was American, but he set up over there because he could, and it's thriving. He made the point of avoiding the US because of all these laws, or not even laws, but all these kind of implications that, you're going to get burned.
I do want to go up to this right here. I wanted to put this other tweet that you had up there. This is the other day when you had the scoop. You said the expert discovery deadline in the Ripple versus the SEC case will be pushed back a month due to the rapid spread of the Omicron variant. A source close to the case tells Fox Business a letter outlining this new motion will be filed in court as early as tomorrow. And you had this scoop the night before it happened. You sent Twitterverse off, and like they went all crazy, and even our DMs started blowing up, and people started saying like, is your source BitBoy? I said, well, I'm pretty sure it was your source wasn't BitBoy, right?
So I don't know who BitBoy is. And
okay,
I feel
good.
Like I should I know who BitBoy is? So yes, so that was kind of the context of the fireside chat. And then when it was over, Clayton got up and left. And I ran after him, and everyone was trying to shake his hand. I was like trying to get in there. And I finally did. And I was like, hi, I was like, Mr. Clayton, I'm Eleanor Terrett. I'm Fox Business. It's so nice to meet you. He's like, oh, he's like, you wrote that article. I was like, yeah. I was like, that was me. I was like, what did you think? And he was like, he goes, it was, pause, long. I was like, yeah, it was. He goes, but you did your research. You talked to a lot of people. I was like, yeah, we did. And I tried to continue, and he ran out. He's like, I have somewhere, basically had somewhere to be. And yeah, that was it. But yes, for those few seconds, I talked to Jay Clayton, and he told me our article was long.
But you pressed for it. You went after him. You could attack. I always told Jeff, I said, if I see him, I'm going to tackle him from behind, full speed. He's not even going to see me. He's just going to go down. If Ripple prevails in this case, is the victor, and there's some clarity around, let's say, XRP, what do you think will happen in that case? And then I'll ask you a follow-up to that. If this sort of goes Ripple's way, the way everyone's thinking it might, what are your thoughts there?
So I think a positive outcome, if I'd say positive outcome, if Ripple prevails, I think a couple things will happen. Obviously, the price of XRP would probably skyrocket if the courts were to side with Ripple. But I've talked to some analysts who believe, a win could probably boost XRP back to its third place spot, of the most valuable cryptocurrencies. I think right now it stands about like 7 or 8. But that price movement could, really, really do wonders for the stock. And then obviously, stock, sorry, I'm so used to saying stock, could do wonders for the, the price and the value. And it'll obviously be great for all those retail XRP investors who, have been dinged by this whole thing. They've got, retirement savings and XRP that they can get a hold of. And it'll be a huge win for them if they rule XRP, that it's legal and it can be relisted on major exchanges, and people can start using it again. I think that will be a huge positive, for retail. Another positive, I think, if the SEC wins, or if Ripple wins, then the SEC is going to be kind of forced to like restructure how I think there'll be so much like, okay, like you brought this lawsuit and you didn't win it. And, you brought this lawsuit. This whole thing has to do with clarity. There's so many laws and so many, circumstances in this case that were based on murky kind of, not laws, but ideas. And there's nothing that was really clear. So I think if Ripple wins, people are going to be saying, hey, like, SEC, you need to be more clear on what you want and what is allowed, and make investors feel comfortable investing and being entrepreneurs and bringing new ideas to the space. I think they will be forced to, kind of open up and say, hey, you know what, kind of, look dumb now that we lost this case. So let's be more clear. Let's be more clear. So yeah, I think those will be a few positives if Ripple does win the case.
I really appreciate you coming on, so thank you for that. And I'll turn it over to you for a last comment and words.
Yeah, thank you. No, thank you to you guys for having me. I really appreciate, your time as well. And also everybody who's been watching this for the last hour. And just, I'm so excited for everything to come. I think, this story that we wrote, it's got a future, and it's obviously an outcome, and we're all waiting for the outcome. And I think there's just, so much here, and there's so much to look forward to in this space. And I just keep, I'm looking forward to just keeping going and, keeping on learning. I'm excited for this course that I'm going to take, and I'm excited for all the things I'm going to learn, down the road. And just thank you for everyone for their support. It means so much, especially all the kind words we see on Twitter all the time. And it just means the world. So thank you guys. Really appreciate it. I had so much fun. Let's do it again.
Are you down with OTC? Please like, subscribe, and click the bell to be notified when the next video drops.